Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Mic podcast. We are always glad that you join us, and we don't take that for granted. Today, I'm excited. I want to introduce you to two friends of mine, Trace Roth and Kevin Grubinski. They are working at a place called Mission Possible. Guys, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah. Man, where to start? I guess for mission trips for me, I had my eyes opened up in way back in 1995, and I went on a mission trip to El Salvador. Had no idea what to expect. I love the comforts of home. I love my fast food, and this was totally different. So I'm excited to talk to you guys and have you share kind of what Mission Possible is all about. Trace, let's start with you. You're the president of Mission Possible. Tell us a little bit about the history with you and Mission Possible.
Mission Possible started in 1979. There was a couple here in Findlay, Ohio, who took their first trip to that country. And like many people who go there, were bitten by the great need of what they saw. And so they came back and said, man, we got to do something for the kids in Haiti. And so they started schools and churches and just started loving on kids, wanted to give a great education that was Christ-centered and Christ-based. And the mission grew out of that desire of theirs. And so over the last 45 years, we've been loving on kids, transitioning to really church planting, evangelism, and discipleship, not only of children, but of adult leaders, with the intent of expanding the kingdom. How can we walk beside the church worldwide and encourage one another, encourage us in faith, teach one another how to pray? What resources do we have or things that we can give to other countries and believers in different places? And so our ministry has grown out of that in wanting to equip what we say the next generation of Christ-centered leaders. And we naturally think about children in that, but we can do that with one another. We're each the next generation of what Christ has for us. Mm-hmm. And so that's been the basis of our ministry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If you've not been on a mission trip, I would highly encourage. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the negative press in short-term missions too. But Kevin, you just returned from a trip. Tell us about that. Also tell us what your role is and what you do at Mission Possible.
Yeah, so here at Mission Possible, I oversee our short-term mission trips, which we call here Crew 419, based on Matthew 4:19, make you fishers of men. And so with that, we mobilize churches and schools to go on short-term trips. Just got back from the Dominican Republic with a group out of actually Ohio, Southern Ohio. They went down and we partnered with a local church down there in the Dominican Republic up in the north, in a little town called Mocha. There they have a lot of church planting going on and also discipleship. And so this church was able to come alongside of that local church and help them in that church planting process and also that discipleship process. So the students and the leaders did some VBSs. They worked alongside in the area of discipleship, of taking the Word of God and opening up to the local people there and discussing Scripture with them, just being able to teach them the Word of God throughout the entire week.
Obviously, you guys are faith-based, and I want to touch on, before we get too far into this, I mentioned the negative. I didn't see, when I went on my trip, I never saw anything negative about this, and I was shocked to hear a few years later that people don't always support short-term missions. And I know you guys have heard this a lot because this is what you do. I guess I want to touch on this and dispel any myths or rumors. I mean, I know that there are organizations out there who may not be doing it right. I know you guys are. I know you're very Christ-centered. You're very careful about everything you do. We heard years ago about the missionaries in Haiti who took a bunch of kids over the border, and and of course that just spun off all these things, negative things about short-term missions. I'm a huge believer in short-term missions and long-term missions. But can you talk to that and what some of those concerns are and how you alleviate those things?
As part of the ministry, we rely on our national leadership to help us in that, because we can come in as North Americans. We've got a lot of money, we've got a lot of education, we got Bibles, stacks around us, and so we come in strength, really, in what we know and what we think we can do. And so that mentality is beneficial because we come in confidently, but we try and help us as North Americans and others that would travel with us to be sensitive to the culture that you're going into, because our cultures are different. But also, how do we walk along beside someone and not come in to be the know-it-all or the strength that's coming in? We historically will, in our training for teams, tell people we're not trying to go in to solve any problems. Because that's what we can do very well as North Americans. We're the problem solvers. We're not going in to solve problems. We're going in to walk beside our brothers and sisters, to cooperate in a vacation Bible school, or to run a medical clinic. We want to come along beside, because we're going to be there a few days and then we're going to go back home. And the people that are there within the church have to keep going on. And so our national leaders really help train us in that. And so we're just very aware that we don't want to come in as the bullies or the strength. We want to come along as the partners in that.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, he's right on all that. When it comes to short-term missions, Mike, like you said, I've been doing this 20 plus years. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and I've seen the ugly. When it comes to teams that go, when I've seen organizations that are sending teams. And so we've learned a lot over the years, too, from that. But here's the thing. I truly believe what we do is kind of the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. Because we not only get to partner with international churches, right, and be a part of what they have going on and reaching people for Christ and building the kingdom, but then we can also partner with the domestic church, right, the local churches around us and throughout the United States, and helping disciple their people in the area of missions, because that's what we do well at.
That's great.
So if you take those two things and you be able to combine them, and then it allows us to help kind of alleviate some of those bad things that people talk about throughout the years. I mean, I've heard it all, right? I mean, why would you spend all that money when you could do it here? Well, that's a great question. Well, number one, the Bible tells us what? That we should be balanced. We should be doing it here in our Jerusalem and also the ends of the earth. So let's help disciple churches in understanding that to help alleviate that issue. The other issue is, who are you partnering with internationally? Are you partnering with a church internationally that's just waiting for Americans to come and give them things, or are you partnering with international churches that are actually moving and doing something for God's kingdom? Because I think that has a lot to do with it too. So when you be able to combine those two things together, all of a sudden some of those issues start alleviating themselves, because now it's focusing on what? The gospel and discipleship, the Great Commission, what God's asked us to do. And when you start thinking other things outside of that, if you start blurring your vision when it comes to that, I think that's when some of the issues start to happen. And we don't want to see that take place. We want to see the church built up and to God to be glorified.
Amen. Guys, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so important to understand. And I want to share a really quick story. On a trip I took to Honduras, I was with an adoption agency at the time. We took a group down there. I led one down there. And we went into the orphanage, and we just went in with no preconceived ideas on what we were going to do. We just wanted to be there, bless them, bless the kids. And we went in there the second day we were there. We said, what can we do that you can't do without us? How can we help you in a way that benefits you? And she said, I hate to say this, but we have this big room over here that's been locked up. And whenever we have mission trips come in, we dump all the stuff they give us in there. and we would love to go through that and clean it out. And I was so heartbroken to start going through this room full of garbage bags, and that's really what was in it, was garbage. We were pulling out shoes that didn't have a pair. We were pulling out shoes that had broken heels and torn clothes, and just, it was all stuff that we would throw in the trash. And yet people felt like we can take this and give it to them because they're less than us. And I really just wanted to sit and cry, because I thought, this is the image that they're giving to us as people that are supposed to be going down. And like you said, walking alongside them and helping them, and not coming in and just, giving them what we think they need. So I really appreciate you guys sharing that.
It's funny you say that, Mike, because I just had that same conversation with the youth leader that was with me in the Dominican, because they wanted to leave clothes behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, that's fine. We can do that. I said, but if they're not clothes you're going to go home and wear, we don't want them here.
Yeah.
And his eyes got really big, and he's like, what do you mean? I go, it's not fair for them to take clothes that you would never wear. Maybe they got holes in them, or you painted in them at one time, or whatever. Yeah. Who's going to wear that? Yeah. That's not how we treat things here. So, let's not make sure that we don't do that moving forward. And, and he understood. He understood that, and it was great to see that and see what they did leave behind.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to ask you guys about challenges. You've had probably countless trips that you have seen Mission Possible do over the years, and I'm sure you've seen your fair share of challenges. Do you have any challenges that stand out to you, whether it's teams, or whether it's locations, or whether it's just I was not prepared for anything that I saw there, running raw sewage running down the streets and things like that. What are some challenges that you guys have had that you've had to overcome in the whole mission trip realm? Is there anything that stands out to you?
There's always challenges. Obviously, what's the first thing they tell you when it comes to a mission trip? Hey, be flexible, right? Because you never know what's going to take place.
Yes.
One thing over the years, we've always come up with different things that have happened, and you do your best to kind of cover that from the team, block that so that your team doesn't see some of those behind the scenes things. But there's been times when you go into country and all of a sudden there's supposed to be someone picking you up at the airport, right? Mm-hmm. Local transportation, and all of a sudden they're not there. And so, now you're scrambling and they're not answering their phone. So you're trying to, go to plan B and see what that looks like. Or, maybe your team that's coming, they didn't prepare, right? They didn't prepare anything to come down. And one thing we really try and work on is making sure teams are prepared. But over the years, it's happened that, they don't prepare. And so when they get on the field and it's like, okay, what do we have? And they're like, we don't got nothing. There's nothing here for you. And so, then it's taking, you got to basically take a day, right, to put some things together so that you can go out and do some ministry with that group. So, those are some of the little things. There's other things that take place throughout a mission trip that you just never know that pops up, and you do your best to kind of roll with it and keep a smile on your face and keep moving forward. Yeah.
And remember, there's not a Walmart around the corner, right?
That's right.
Mike, you'd mentioned about on your trip not going in with a preconceived idea. I think that's a big deal, because when you have a team that's coming in thinking they know what's going to happen or what they're going to do, that can cause a huge challenge, because flexibility is key. And when we have an idea of what it may look like or what we're going to experience, and it's not like that, it can really throw us for a loop. And then we try and adjust to that because it's not what I had expected. Mm-hmm. And that's when you can get into trouble, some things like that. So when we prepare teams, we don't want it to be a big surprise where we're going or what you're going to experience. We prepare people well of culture and food and things like that. But there's probably some expectations you should leave at home, because you really don't know what God's going to do. because you're going outside your box.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of mission trips. When you go outside your box with God and leave some expectations at home, you see him in a different way. You see the church in a different way. You see your friends in a different way. It just really opens up your whole experience by doing that. But bringing expectations, I think, can be a big challenge for a team. Yeah.
I think that's really important. Perspective is, we've seen things on TV and movies over the years, and we can't help but go in like, what am I going to experience? But I think you're right. Just an example of in our local environment every day, we have a certain perspective, and I think when we go into that new perspective, I just remember landing, and the smells were different, and everything was different. There weren't a lot of roads. All of those things you just don't even think about. And so when you get there, you're trying to acclimate yourself to all the things you're seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting. I mean, on our trips, we had a meal that was scrambled eggs and potatoes is all they had at this orphanage. And, we went and got them groceries after that, but that's what they prepared for us, and that's what the kids had. And you start to realize, this is a total shift of my mindset of what the world is really like, because most of us don't know. So that's a really, I think that's important, is just to go and say, God, just show me how I can be used, and not come with those preconceived ideas. That's really good, Trace. I know mission trips impact your lives. You guys do this all the time. How has it impacted you personally, each of you? I'll start with you, Kevin. I mean, I know when you're doing something and it's your job, you can get in that mindset of, this is the checklist, those are the things I need to do, but this is very much faith-based. And I know that there are times when your mind settles down and things are in place on these trips, and you begin to catch some of that impact. How has it impacted you over the years?
Yeah. So, I can't, it's numerous times, Mike, how
Sure.
many times it's impacted me. In moments where, you're in tears at times, with this is the emotions of it, a couple of different ways is this, and I'll start with teams first, is watching people that come on teams and watching throughout the week their lives being changed is absolutely incredible to me. And I've seen some people coming in with very hard hearts, but by the middle to end of the week, just watching those hearts soften and watching God do a work in there that, before the week started, you're going, oh, this one's going to be a tough one, right? But it's not too tough for God, and to watch that take place, or to watch relationships restored because of how this person was impacted on a trip, is incredible. But then from the mission side of it is, number one, is being able to work with some incredible individuals that are doing the work of God with very little resources, but putting all their efforts and time into it, is absolutely incredible to me, to be able to watch that and see that take place, and never asking for anything in return. They feel this is their calling, this is what God's asked them to do, and they go out and do it. And probably the other thing outside of that is, being able to have a different worldview, right? And the way we are here in the U.S. versus, other places in the world. But, and here's the thing I've noticed, and one thing I try and even continue to remind myself of is, when we're overseas and I see this poor community that don't have anything, right? But they're willing to give you literally the shirt off their back, or the last meal they're about to eat, or they're sharing with neighbors because they might have a little bit more rice than this other neighbor has. And then to come back home and to see us, where we just grab and hold on to all of our stuff as much as we can.
That's right.
Without that, it really impacts my life, because I'm going, man, where have we become to where, God's wanting us to do what? Open arms, right? To
Yeah.
share, to make sure no one has a need. But we've kind of changed that here. And so it's been one thing to, when you're able to see those things take place and watch that physically with your eyes, it's devastating to me in my heart, just because I'm going, man, I need to be better, right? I need to be
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
in who I am as a Christ follower.
Yeah, that's good. Impact in your life, just through what you're doing. What's that look like?
Yeah. Well, for me, impact of mission trips has been one of those things that's just really changed me. I talk about being in my box, and I feel real comfortable in my box.
Yeah.
And the times that God has taken me outside the United States in particular, He's opened up my box, and I'm not the same because of that. And I can even tell you today, every time I step in the shower and turn on water,
Yeah.
this is every day. I don't. That's an amazing thing to me, because
Yeah.
I've been in places where that doesn't happen, and the people don't have that, and I've seen it, and I've experienced that personally. And so a shower for me every day is just that reminder of, thank you, God, that I have it, and I'm praying for my friends that don't have it today. And so it's, mission trips opens that up to me, gives me a different view of my Christian brothers and sisters around the world. And so when I see the news, I can be empathetic in a way that I wouldn't have been before. But also a view of God and who He is, that He's much bigger than where I am today. There are Christian people loving Him and living life on the edge for Him around the world that I don't know about. I'll probably never meet on this side of eternity. But He is working so much in our world that I don't realize that those trips open that up to my mind and to my view of who God is. Yeah.
Yeah, both really great insights into that. And likewise, I remember going to some church services where these people had nothing. And I don't know that I've ever seen a group of people in poverty praising God with all their hearts more than I had in those times. And I feel the same way.
I think the one thing the mission has seen over the last few years, particularly with Haiti, we've been a very strong ministry in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken people to Haiti. It's just been a core piece of what we do at Mission Possible. And because of their situation politically and just the terrible things that are going on in that country today, we've not been able to go there. Physically, we continue to pray for our friends and family and coworkers in Haiti. But because we couldn't go there, we've had to really ask ourselves, was it all about going that was important to us, or is it about ministering through the church? And how can we do that together well without having to go there? Is God opening up some other places for us? And we're exploring that through teams. What other places is God working that He wants us to join Him in that we can't do in Haiti right now? We can still support our friends and love them the best that we can today. And when we can go back, we would love to go back. But God's opening up the other doors for us to take ministry that He's given us over the years and maybe implement that in another place. And how great is that for expanding the kingdom? So we're seeing that through teams. How do we do that through teams? How do we do that through engaging other people that can have like-mindedness within the ministry? We're just seeing that shift today, and it's scary, but it's encouraging to see what is really happening within the ministry and what's God doing for us. And with us.
Yeah, sometimes we hear people talk about God closing doors and opening windows and all those, things that we talk about and like to envision in our minds. But it is true in a lot of ways that maybe that is a chance for God to move you elsewhere, or to who knows? I mean, God sees all and knows all, and pretty Pretty amazing. Yeah. We have a mutual friend, Belinda Ernst, I know, who has been impacted by your trips to Haiti. In fact, we had the Ernst family on and shared about their adoption that really kind of was sparked there in Haiti on a trip that she went on. She's in the medical field, and she went down and to do some medical work one time a long time ago, and really had a heart for the children of Haiti, and ended up adopting because of that. So I look at that one instance, and I wonder how many teams you've had and how many people have gone on mission trips and how that's impacted their lives and how that then impacts others. It's that exponential growth in the kingdom of how God uses each of us to do certain things. And I think that's so amazing. And I love the Ernst story. We'll share that in the show notes as well to listen to that. But that's how God used the whole family to bring them to their now son and brother who came not from Haiti, but who joined their family a while back and is just flourishing. So, yeah, pretty amazing.
I know that's an aspect that Kevin and we all do love about, but Kevin talks about it a lot in teams, is that we go and serve for several days, but what happens when we come back is a lifetime of change.
That's right.
Happens to us in our discipleship. We're two examples of that. Mike, you're an example of that. These things change us, and we come back home, and what does that mean for mission at home? It changes us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, guys, I want to, you're local here, but I know you reach way beyond the borders of our county and our state. If there are people out there who are interested in taking a mission trip through Mission Possible, or maybe you guys, I counted, I think 11 countries that you're connected with. Maybe there's not a country on there, but they're interested. Is that something you can help them with? And if they live, across the country, what's that look like for someone listening to this or watching this and saying, I want to get involved and I like what Mission Possible is doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we would love to partner with a school or a church. And if they don't see a country on our website that they maybe feel God calling them to, please reach out to us still. Let's talk about that country. It's probably a pretty good thing that I probably have a connection there after all these years. So we would love to get them connected and get them on a trip there. And that's a cool thing, Mike, is kind of talking about this a little bit, is when it comes to mission trips, it doesn't matter the age, right? You can be young and you can be old to go on a trip. But the other side of the things that we try and look at too is your gifts and talents. Because I feel even for when God's moving and God's impacting not only your life but someone else's life, using your gifts and talents in a way on that trip is super, super important. And even taking a trip and designing that trip based on your gifts and talents is important. And it could be in the medical field. It could be through sports. We do a lot of sports trips with what we do. It could be construction. I took a group of older ladies, they're 70 years plus, and we went to the Dominican Republic, and they taught other women how to knit Afghans in the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, right.
But they did that, and they shared the gospel through knitting Afghans.
Wow.
And but that was their gift and that was their talent, and they were able to use that there in the country. So there's a lot of different people out there that can partner in a lot of different ways that we would love to be a part of, and watch God use them for His glory on a mission trip. Mm-hmm.
Trace, where can they get a hold of you guys? How can they reach out to you guys?
Well, we do have phones here, so you could give us
still
a call.
Have phones. Okay.
We still have phones, yeah, and we're on social media. We're on the internet. Our website, you can get to us that way. So our website is ourmissionispossible.org. You can get all the information there. Phone numbers, you can find it online. But you want me to give it? I can give the phone number.
No, it's all there. It's all there, and we have the URL, your website, on the screen, and so and we'll have it in the show notes as well. So please click on that. Reach out to these guys and get involved. If there's just a little ember of something inside of you that says, I've always considered that, man, I would encourage you to take the step. Don't worry about, you guys take care of things like insurance and all those things that you think about once you commit and you go, what about this? That's, you guys are pros at that. So don't let those things stop you from doing what God may be leading you to, and give you a whole new perspective on life. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity just to share final words. Kevin, we'll start with you, and just anything you want to share with those who are watching or listening right now about missions or anything that's God's put on your heart.
Yeah. God's called us to be on mission, not only home, but also away, and maybe an international country as it is. I would love to have us be a part of what God's doing in your life to help you be on mission, through discipleship, but also through being on a trip and being able to help them engage a community that maybe they're not familiar with, and watch God work through them with that. Yeah. My life was changed on a short-term mission trip 20 plus years ago, and I'm still here today doing the same things because of how God worked in my life. And I truly, truly believe today in 2024, God's still working in the lives of people in a lot of different areas, but obviously in one that's dear to my heart, and that's short-term mission trips. And so if Mike, you said it great, and if you're even just partially thinking about it, take that step of faith. Yeah. Give us a call. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I would echo that same thing. Just watch what God's doing. Come and join us. Ask some questions. See what that means for you. It'll be a life changer. And if you've been on a trip before and God's telling you to go again, go again. Because number 2 or number 10 or whatever is different all the way around. Each one is different. God uses us in different ways and teaches us different things all the time. And so we, like Kevin said, just love to walk with you in that journey with him, and we meet him in a new way, and we grow.
Love it, guys. For those people out there who are going, that is not even a close spark inside of me, but they want to give, they want to support you guys financially. Are you guys, I'm assuming you guys are taking donations to help with, you guys have a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved in this, and you have a fairly small team doing a lot of work. So again, website, is that the best place for them to go and contribute financially?
Yeah, it sure is. You can get to that on our website, and you can look at the things that we're doing. Yeah. Like Mike said, teams may not be your thing or where you're feeling that call, but you could be a prayer. And we can give you students in Haiti, Dominican Republic, other countries that you could be praying for. Or you want to scholarship a student for a better education, we can help you do that. We have other building construction projects that are going on with local churches in many different places. So we can help you do that as well. So yeah, check us out on the web. A lot of different ways that God can plug you into mission and ministry, not just going on a trip, but doing a lot of different things. Mm-hmm.
There you go, guys. That's your call to action. Please don't turn your head. Man, this is an opportunity for you to get involved. You don't even have to leave your living room if you don't want to help with missions. Mm-hmm. So, Kevin, Trace, thank you both so much for what you're doing, for spending some time with us and sharing about Mission Possible. God bless you guys. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Mike.